So today I want to talk about one of the biggest projects in crypto that most people, I believe, are still sleeping on. It is quickly gaining ground. The fact of the matter is that when most people hear crypto, they think of blockchains. But what if I told you that one of the fastest growing networks isn't even a blockchain at all? That's because Hedera, ticker HBAR, uses Hashgraph. This is a technology that claims to be faster, more secure, and more efficient than traditional blockchains as we know them. This Hashgraph still uses distributed ledger technology like a blockchain, and it's governed by some of the biggest corporations in the world, yet most of the crypto space still sleeps on it, candidly. So we're going to do a deep dive here, and we're going to be breaking down, first of all, how Hashgraph is different from blockchain, who controls Hedera, and why it's not fully public. We'll also talk about adoption, as well as why Americans seem to love HBAR, HBAR, more than the rest of the world. Welcome to the channel. My name is Maddie, and this is Altcoin Buzz. All the best of luck if you choose to invest, blockchain, Hashgraph, or anything else. I wish you very, very well. Just remember that I'm not a financial or investment advisor, and that means that by extension, this video is not official financial or investment advice. Let's start at a top level here and discuss the differences between Hashgraphs and blockchains. So for context, most cryptocurrencies like Solana, Ethereum, etc., of course, rely on blockchain technology. This is where transactions are stored in sequential blocks. And of course, this method works, but a couple of the known limitations are usually speed and scalability. Hedera's Hashgraph works differently. It uses what's called a gossip protocol. That's where transactions spread like wildfire intentionally across the network. So instead of forming blocks, transactions are recorded in a directed acyclic graph, a DAG, a DAG. This matters because Hashgraph technology gives Hedera several advantages, believe it or not, over traditional blockchains. For example, speed, that's a big deal here. You're going to get over 10,000 transactions per second, compared to Bitcoin's very modest 7 TPS, or even Ethereum's 30 TPS. Also, security is pretty impressive. Hedera can withstand attacks better than most blockchains. And then in addition to that, fees are very low. Transactions cost fractions of a cent, making microtransactions viable. And then to top it all off, it's also very ecologically friendly because it uses significantly less energy compared to proof of work or POW blockchains like Bitcoin. Let's talk about the governance model. Unlike most blockchains that rely on a decentralized group of validators, Hedera is run by what's called a governing council, and that's made up of global enterprises and institutions. Some notable names that comprise it include Visa, which is of course a payment giant, Deutsche Telekom, a global telecom provider, Standard Bank, IBM, and Google. Maybe you've heard of them. These are companies that operate nodes and guide Hedera's development. While this corporate control makes it more stable and enterprise-friendly, it does raise some concerns about decentralization. Hedera's mainnet is permissioned, meaning only approved nodes, those run by council members, can validate transactions. However, the long-term plan is to transition fully to decentralization by gradually introducing community-run nodes. So, yes, admittedly, while Hedera is centralized right now, it is still leagues ahead of most fully private ledgers. So like I said, Hedera, in my opinion, is very much under the radar. But despite that, they've been quietly growing in real-world adoption. And you don't have to take my word for it. Let's discuss the numbers here. In terms of total transactions, they have over 45 billion processed. Transactions per second are also super impressive. They consistently handle over 10,000 TPS. Their DeFi TVL is almost $100 million. In terms of enterprise adoption, that's also been very strong because they're used by Avery Dennison, Boeing, and LG for supply chain, digital identity, and tokenization. And then whether you like it or not, Hedera is also making big moves in tokenization, working on CBDCs and stablecoin settlement with major banks. While HBAR, which is Hedera's token, is struggling right now in price, that has been the story for a lot of altcoins out there. Despite the price action, the project itself has seen massive adoption. And like I said at the outset, it seems to be particularly popular in the United States. And to the best of my knowledge, here's why I think Americans seem to love Hedera. First of all, there's a lot of corporate trust here because the governing council includes familiar US brands, like I mentioned, Google, IBM, Boeing, and that kind of makes it feel more legitimate, at least to American investors. The SEC and regulation is also a factor here because unlike many altcoins, Hedera actually has clear enterprise-friendly compliance. This appeals to US institutions that look for that kind of compliance. Retail speculation is another one here to consider. And what I mean by this is the fact that US investors tend to jump on undervalued projects. And a lot of those investors right now tend to believe that HBAR is still cheap and undervalued, at least when compared to its potential. It's also worth noting that Hedera's focus on tokenization, and whether you like them or not, CBDCs, aligns with United States regulatory trends. This altcoin buzz spotlight is brought to you by SWI. And if we take a look at the market, you could say that it's gone crazy really over the last 30 days. We saw two huge liquidations of over $1 billion and a pump and dump over the weekend, as we've been talking about in this video. But some coins like SWI, SUI, have weathered the storm and are still a great investment opportunity today. It has quickly become one of the leading altcoins in this market, and let's consider why here. First of all, SWI is killing it in terms of all the big sectors that it supports. So I'm talking about DeFi. That is where SWI crossed $1 billion in TVL and is almost at $1.5 billion in record time. SWI liquidity aggregator Deepbook also launched its DEEP token, DEEP, in October, which is holding up well despite the tough market conditions. Walrus is changing the game in decentralized data storage. Its token launch is coming very soon. And Solana builders are building on SWI now with integrations like Phantom and Backpack. SWI even has a small but growing meme coin market for the meme coin lovers out there. If you have not used SWI lately, then come give it a try. And also follows SWI's X account for all the latest updates. Check out the links that you'll find in the description of this video below. HBAR is Hedera's native token, and this really powers the entire ecosystem. Some of the use cases here include transactions, smart contracts, file storage, staking, and governance. And HBAR has surged by over 60% in the last year. It also certainly helps that it's available on major exchanges like Binance and OKX, which of course is good for accessibility. So is it worth holding as a token? Certainly, Hedera is a fascinating project. It's got pretty good institutional presence and a strong ecosystem, but its current centralized control does remain a little bit of a red flag, or at least a concern for many. Just remember that the team does plan to go decentralized in the long term, which is probably going to help resolve those fears that some people have regarding centralization. Overall, though, Hedera does have strong potential to be a good long-term investment because, first of all, enterprise adoption is clearly growing. By the numbers, major companies already use Hedera, and these guys only back good projects. Tokenization is also set to boom as a trend, and Hedera is actively involved in that market. And its strong fundamentals really make it one of the most technically sound networks.